Part 93. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 921. The latest chapter of the Wanchai I Created is updated the fastest. The next moment, 7 immortal masters from another world attacked directly. In addition to the first few people, several more arrived. They besieged the 3 ancestors of the heavenly beings. The sky exploded with countless brilliance in an instant, and violent power sprayed out like money. At this moment, no one held back. After staying in this doomsday-like world for so long, everyone was desperate. Lin Yi, who suddenly appeared, had found that it was the only chance, and no one would let them go. Anyone who tried to stop them would be crushed to pieces. At this time, although the 3 ancestors of the heavenly beings still maintained their peak combat power, but facing the siege of 7 immortal masters, they immediately fell into crisis. The violent power exploded continuously in an instant, and the twisted evil field opened, constantly changing the reality and resisting attacks from all directions. But these people did not stop for a moment, and launched crazy attacks on them, constantly tearing their twisted fields apart. 7 forces suppressed them crazily, and even connected directly together, blocking their possibility of escape. 7 forces were launching violent attacks every moment, suppressing their evil domains, leaving them no chance to escape. The 3 ancestors of the heavenly beings exploded crazily, but were accompanied by 3 huge explosions. Their domains were all directly blasted. One after another, terrifying forces pressed on them, and various mysterious healing methods quickly permeated their bodies. In the end, the 3 ancestors of the heavenly beings turned into 3 completely immobile black statues. The statues were filled with 7 different forces, harmoniously integrated, sealing them all. Obviously, in the short battle just now, these 7 Tianxiandao strongmen from another world completed the exchange of opinions and the decision to seal. 7 figures appeared in front of the 3 statues, and their eyes all looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi watched them take action and directly sealed the ancestors of the heavenly beings, with a smile on his face. You did a great job. This is the contract. It can ensure that our transaction goes on normally. The note floated in front of the 7 people, and they quickly understood the content of the contract. The content was fair, and there was nothing wrong with it. No one hesitated and quickly wrote down their names. At this time, their aura had dropped to an alarming level, and they could not even maintain the level of Tianxiandao. The previous battle almost exhausted all their reserve power. This was a complete fight to the death. As the contract was signed, the note was ignited and turned into a cloud of smoke and disappeared. Lin Yi in the Wanchai also smiled and opened the door. Come in, this is the void world. After coming here, you can completely get rid of the danger of doomsday. The 7 figures entered the door of the Wanchai with 3 statues without any hesitation. At this time, outside the gate, one after another, there were still figures rushing here. Obviously, they were far away and had just arrived. These people were all martial arts masters at the level of God Emperor, and they were already the closest group to this area. They couldn't come across the sky at will like the king-level existence, so they could only hurry on their way step by step. Their power level was about comparable to that of the masters of the earthly immortals. There were at least hundreds of people in this batch. Seeing them coming, Lin Yi's heart moved slightly. 99% of the bounty hunters in the current Wanchai are from the void base. These people have no foundation in the void, and they can cultivate to this level in a place with scarce resources. They are all talented people. If they are absorbed into the Wanchai before they have the ability to stand in the void base, they can only live in the Wanchai. And with Shen Wuifang and Li Hualian as the core, maybe they can cultivate a group of strong people loyal to the Wanchai. Get red envelope cash or point red envelopes have been issued to your account. Follow the WeChat public account book Friends Base Camp to receive it. Countless thoughts flashed through Lin Yi's mind, and he had made a decision. Hundreds of notes appeared in front of these martial arts masters who came. Sign the contract, and you can leave this doomsday world. The price is that you have to become bounty hunters and work for me for 1,000 years. The martial arts masters looked at the note contracts in their hands, and their hearts were suddenly shaken. They felt the hope of life. No one wants to die, especially those who have mastered power, who are even more unwilling to die. They have broken the boundary between life and death. They have the ability to reincarnate, and as long as there are humans, they will not die. But in this doomsday world, with the continuous extinction of humans, they will eventually die. Without any hesitation, hundreds of people almost all signed their names. The note ignited without wind, and the strange power enveloped them. Then, a field of distorted reality rose in the Wanchaiwu, instantly enveloping them all. They flew into the sky under the guidance of a force and entered the Wanchaiwu. And all of them were directly sent to the guest rooms on the second floor of the Wanchaiwu. During the whole process, they were enveloped by the distorted domain light and had no idea where they had come to. For these people, Lin Yi still had some mystery for the time being. These people still needed to slowly integrate into the atmosphere of the void base and become familiar with the environment. Otherwise, if they were allowed to contact the people in the void base rashly, there might be problems. At this time, the 7 beings of the heavenly immortal Dao level from another world who appeared in the Wanchaiwu were frantically absorbing the spiritual energy around them and restoring their own consumption. The Wanchaiwu was now closed, but no one paid attention to them. It was not until all their strength was restored that they saw Lin Yi watching them quietly. Our transaction is complete. This is the new moon void base. Not far away is the void city. Next, you can go wherever you want. I will send you out of this base first. These people did not have the identity cards of the new moon base. Once they left, they would be regarded as intruders. Lin Yi could only send them to the void. These 7 descenders were obviously outsiders wandering in the void. They seemed to know what the void city was, and nodded silently. Lin Yi opened the door again, and outside was an endless void, and a void city could be seen, shining in the void. When the 7 people saw this scene, their eyes lit up, and without any hesitation, they left the Wanchaiwu in a line. These guys did not stop at all, and they were obviously in a hurry to leave and did not want to cause any more trouble. It can be expected that in the world of doomsday, how much impact it has caused them. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 922. The world fell silent in an instant, and only Brandy, Lin Yi, and 3 statues were left in the entire room. Lin Yi looked at Brandy. I recruited a group of people to enter the Wanchaiwu house. I arranged them all upstairs. Get Absinthe and the others, plus your clones, and explain to them the operation of the master house. They will have to work here to pay off their debts. Bai Lan nodded, okay, store manager. With that said, Brandy walked upstairs with an excited smile. Lin Yi's eyes fell on the 3 celestial ancestors. These 3 seals of the ancestors of heaven and humans are of great value to him. They will be an endless source of relics of gods and humans. Thinking of this, he waved his hand, and 3 golden coffins appeared in front of him. This is a sealing tool that is relatively popular in the void. It can seal any existence within 10 times the level of the heavenly immortal Dao. Once sealed in this coffin, it will be bound by the power within the coffin. At the same time, their power will be forcibly extracted to maintain the operation of the coffin. Therefore, the being sealed inside will never have a chance to escape the seal. The 3 statues were thrown directly into the golden coffin by Lin Yi. The light flickered, and the coffin began to operate. A series of wonderful formations were running inside the coffin, forcibly extracting the power of the ancestors of heaven and humans. These 3 coffins were carefully selected, and they correspond to the power at the soul level. It is this aspect of power that the ancestors of heaven and humans mastered, pure evil. A stream of majestic evil power was extracted and poured into the coffin. The power that originally sealed them disintegrated inch by inch, and the three ancestors of the heavenly beings regained their freedom. But looking inside, golden chains emerged out of thin air, binding every corner of their bodies. No matter how hard they struggled, it was of no use. Even the power in their bodies is being forcibly extracted. The harder they struggle, the more powerful it is extracted. At the same time, they struggle as if they are fighting against themselves. This is the terrifying thing about the golden coffin, it doesn't give any chance. After sealing the ancestor of heaven and man into the coffin, Lin Yi showed a smile on his face. With a wave of his hand, he sent them into the underground maze and into a separate laboratory. Next, what he wants to do is how to let the ancestor of heaven and earth create heaven and earth. This experiment will be completed by Lin Yi's human immortal clone. Lin Yi has 2 clones and 1 body. Now they have gradually developed their own scope of work. Blue Star works externally and completes various tasks. The human immortal clone is responsible for various types of research, and the Blue Star clone is in charge of the everything room when the Blue Star clone is away. The main body continues to practice the void tribulation and perfect the cultivation of the celestial Dao. A clear division of labor ensures the normal operation of Wanchai Wu. After doing all this, Lin Yi's Blue Star clone stood in front of the door of the Wanchi house. He opened the door and stepped out. Outside is a green world, full of vitality and vitality. Breathtaking scenery can be seen everywhere, including towering trees, primeval forests, clear lakes, and snow-capped mountains. But the most eye-catching thing is a towering tree growing in the middle of a vast lake. Lin Yi looked at the big tree in the middle of the lake. The power of the domain slowly enveloped the surroundings, floating gently and moving towards the big tree. His speed was very slow, and he looked around calmly. He could see traces of strange power integrated into every corner of the world, like gangrene attached to the bones. All kinds of wonderful creatures have been eroded by strange forces to varying degrees. It's just that this erosion is still controlled to a certain extent and has not exploded. Just like the Red Lotus world in the past, there was a long period of invasion. And now the world is in the same period. As if aware of Lin Yi's arrival, countless leaves slowly fell from the big tree. A bridge made of leaves quickly extended from the big tree to Lin Yi's feet. Lin Yi looked at the bridge of leaves under his feet with a smile on his face. The power of the domain dissipated directly and landed lightly on the bridge. There was a bridge of soft leaves under his feet, which made him feel a little strange. He walked a few steps and looked in the direction of the big tree. A figure appeared at the end of the bridge, and it was the incarnation of Ayala. The bridge beneath my feet seemed to be moving, quickly shrinking towards the big tree. In less than a minute, Lin Yi crossed a distance of several thousand meters and arrived at the small island under the big tree. But when he stood on the island, he saw clearly that the island was the root of the entire tree. Ayala looked at him quietly, with a hint of joy in her eyes. "You're here? It looks like your experiment was successful." Lin Yi smiled and said, "There is still one last step left. I just came here in advance to survey the situation on your side. If the situation is not good, I will help you deal with it first. Let you persist until my experiment succeeds." Ayala nodded, "Okay, let's go to my palace first." A branch slowly fell from the big tree, and the tip of the branch spiraled into a platform. Lin Yi and Ayala both stood up, and the branches carried them towards the crown of the tree. In less than a minute, the two of them reached the top of the tree. Standing at the highest point, they faced the east, where the sun rises. Faintly, it seemed that a kind of darkness was spreading towards the eastern world. Lin Yi took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. The erosion of the weird seems to be quite serious. Yes, there is an area in that area that has been completely eroded by the weird. There is a closed weird illusion there, and my power can only seal the periphery. I can't go deep into it and eliminate the weird inside. I found a huge problem. Once the weird existence is killed, the weird essence will be integrated into the world. So simple killing is meaningless. It will only make the weird power continue to penetrate the world. So the best way is to seal it. Although I isolate it from the world, I can feel it. In that world, the weird power is accumulating. One day in the future, it will break my seal and rush out. It will take thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years, but it will always come. The reason why I look for you is because I have encountered this future that cannot be changed. Among all the people I know, I only see the possibility of changing the future in you. Ayala took out the note that Lin Yi gave him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 923. The content of the contract was written on the note, and Ayala's breath suddenly changed. In an instant, he seemed to be connected to the whole world. At this moment, his eyes flashed with pure calmness, looking like the eyes of the world, looking at all living beings equally. At this moment, his will was connected to the world, and he was now the representative of the world. Now, I sign a contract with you on behalf of the world. From now on, half of everything produced in the canopy world will belong to you. The next moment, a mysterious symbol appeared on the note. This symbol is a canopy, flashing a faint green glow. With the appearance of the symbol, the note ignited without wind. The next moment, Lin Yi felt a mysterious connection. As long as he can resist the strange invasion in the future, then half of the output of this world will belong to him. Thinking of this, a faint smile appeared in his heart. From now on, he will have a world as a backing. And this is just the beginning, he will have more worlds in the future. Lin Yi looked at Ayala, then now, I will help you solve some problems here. First, I have to clear the scattered weird power that permeates this world. Lin Yi has his own research and understanding of weirdness. Through long-term observation, he found that the most dangerous thing about weirdness is its indestructibility. And the most dangerous thing about weirdness is its indestructibility. This indestructibility is the result of one world after another. Once being watched by weirdness, it cannot escape. As far as he knows now, only his spiritual wave can destroy the essence of weirdness in the entire void. Now, the canopy world will be the first step of his experiment. If successful, this method can be extended to the entire void. Hearing Lin Yi's words, Ayala's eyes showed a hint of excitement. What do you want me to do? First, let me enter the core of this world. The origin of all spiritual energy. There, I can clearly integrate into the strange nature of this world cycle. The soul giant tree Ayala nodded, okay, I understand. After the voice was finished, a mysterious wave appeared in front of him. A vortex hole appeared in front of the two of them. The opposite side exuded extremely rich spiritual energy. These spiritual energies almost turned into liquid. Lin Yi and Ayala stepped into it, and the spiritual energy turned into liquid filled their surroundings, naturally nourishing their bodies. Lin Yi carefully felt this nourishment, and he found that even if he did nothing, the simple immersion in spiritual energy would cause permanent changes to his body. Changes appear from the deepest level of genes, and cells will become extremely powerful. Until the cells grow to the limit and adapt to the rich spiritual energy in the outside world, they will stop. He calculated a little and understood in his heart that once the cells have completed adaptation, the simple combat power can be comparable to the level of Tianxiandao. This kind of growth belongs to evolution. After this kind of evolution, spiritual energy will be consumed every moment. If the spiritual energy in the outside world cannot keep up with the consumption of the body, then this kind of evolution will quickly degenerate. There is no love without reason in the world, nor will there be power without reason. The maintenance of any power has huge consumption. This kind of power obtained purely by relying on the external environment will also be greatly affected by the external environment. He took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. He looked around. This is a vast ocean of spiritual energy. You can see clear boundaries. The further out, the thinner the spiritual energy. The spiritual energy spreads in all directions like a spider web, forming strips of lines. And these lines will eventually disappear in space. This process is obviously the spiritual energy radiating to the outside world. However, spiritual energy will also flow into these lines and return to this world of spiritual energy. This is the core of the world's spiritual energy cycle, an incredible place. At this time, Lin Yi and Ayala are standing here. Ayala said in a low and calm voice, "This is the source of spiritual energy. What do you want to do?" Lin Yi took a deep breath. "Next, let me do it." His eyes flashed with the brilliance of the true destiny, and everything in the spiritual energy appeared in front of him. A trace of strange essence, like spider silk, lightly merged into this spiritual ocean. These strange essences are only a thin thread, but like a spider web, they are all over this world. And these strange essences are almost imperceptible, because they are too thin, and even merged with spiritual energy to some extent. So even if these powers are absorbed into the body, their existence cannot be detected. In the void, this state of spiritual energy is called preliminary contaminated energy. Once this energy is absorbed, it will cause the organism to be initially invaded by strange power. The result is that the organism that absorbs this power will continue to accumulate strange power in the body. Just like humans eat food containing heavy metals will accumulate in the body and cannot be digested. At a certain moment, when the weird essence accumulates to the peak, the infected will have all kinds of fantasies. Then weird changes will occur in the fantasy, and eventually become a weird existence. The higher the power level, the greater the weird pollution that can be tolerated. In the current void, according to legend, almost all spiritual energy has been polluted by weirdness. Because the weirdness has appeared in the void for countless years, all the dead weirdness, their weird essence will be integrated into the void. Therefore, the energy in the void has more or less weird essence. Creatures that need to absorb spiritual energy in the void to survive will inevitably be invaded by weird power. But maybe the void is too big, the weird essence integrated into the void may be just a drop of water in the infinite ocean. Basically, it is impossible to make any strong person fall into a weird state. At least so far, I have never heard of anyone becoming a weird existence because of absorbing the spiritual energy of the void. He took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. The pollution here is still very serious. The weird essence has permeated the source of spiritual power. You can't see it, but I can see it clearly. Ayala's eyes showed a trace of solemnity when he heard this. He couldn't see the weird essence, but as a manager connected to the world, he could naturally feel that the operation of the world had become disharmonious. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 924. A world-class dark shadow enveloped his mind, which was why he went to find Lin Yi. This dark cloud made him feel powerless to resist. Ayala looked at Lin Yi with a serious expression. "Everything depends on you." Lin Yi nodded calmly, and a green light spread from his body. The power of the spiritual wave mixed with his domain and expanded rapidly, covering a radius of 1 kilometer in an instant. Compared with the entire spiritual ocean world, Lin Yi's domain covers an area of only about 1%. The range of this spiritual ocean is about 100 kilometers. Beyond this, the spiritual energy will disappear in this space under the effect of the lines and enter the cycle of the world. Lin Yi took a deep breath, and his domain was filled with endless spiritual waves. At this time, the spiritual wave began to rotate violently under his control. Like a whirlpool, the strange forces around were naturally attracted by the spiritual wave. The storm formed by the spiritual wave cannot interfere with anything in the real world. Even spiritual energy will not be affected by the spiritual wave. But the strange power is the only exception, within the range of the power of the spiritual wave. Along with the huge vortex formed in Lin Yi's domain, it seemed to form a black hole, and the strange essence that permeated the spiritual ocean was quickly attracted by the spiritual wave vortex. The network formed by the strange essence, a single hair moved the whole body. It was quickly pulled by the huge vortex and gathered towards the spiritual wave vortex. Amazing things happened. After countless strange essences flowed into the range of the spiritual wave, they were quickly neutralized and consumed. Only a trace of the purest strange essence would be absorbed into Lin Yi's body. It merged into the spiritual wave sphere and became a part of it, raising the upper limit of the spiritual wave sphere. And this pulling force made the strange essence begin to gather in large quantities. Ayala discovered something in horror. The originally undetectable strange essence gradually turned into a gray color, covering the boundary of Lin Yi's domain. And these gray strange essences, once they come into contact with Lin Yi's domain, will instantly merge into it and disappear. It looked like Lin Yi's domain had forcibly absorbed these strange essences. This was a scene he had never seen before, and he was shocked. He knew too well how powerful the strangeness was, and it was a power that could not be described in words. It was an essential power that could not be eliminated at all, and it brought all disasters and destruction. But now, he saw with his own eyes that the strange power was constantly dissipating in front of him. He was finally swallowed up by Lin Yi's power, and his heart was shocked beyond words. At this time, he was very fortunate that he could accidentally meet someone like Lin Yi and master incredible power. Invisibly saved the future of himself and his world. He could feel that the dark cloud that the world made him feel was disappearing rapidly. It seemed that the future was being rewritten, and the inevitable fate of destruction was fading away. At this time, Lin Yi could clearly feel that the strange essence that permeated this world was rapidly decreasing. And his spiritual wave sphere also increased the upper limit by January 3rd in this short period of time. This growth is very terrifying. His spiritual wave sphere has reached its current size after countless battles and countless hunts. But now it has increased by January 3rd again. It is only because he cleaned up the infected world origin and cleansed a large amount of weird essence. This made Lin Yi's eyes show a trace of joy. This clearly means that his idea is effective. It is possible to cleanse the weird essence on a large scale through the spiritual origin of the world. At this time, there is an endless supply of spiritual energy integrated into the cycle of the world. What followed was the weird essence that was originally circulating in the world. Lin Yi just cleaned the spiritual energy in the origin, which only occupied half of the spiritual energy in the entire world. Next, he will need some time to continue to clean the spiritual energy in the external circulation. The soul giant tree Ayala watched from the side, and there was a look of surprise in its eyes. Lin Yi's actions successfully gave him hope. This guy is really a mysterious person. Although in that doomsday world, I knew this guy was not simple. But I didn't expect that he had such a great ability, and he actually eliminated the influence of the strange power. What an incredible guy. Although the soul giant tree Ayala has 100 times the combat power of the heavenly immortal level, it does not have the ability of the outer level. Limited by its body, it is not a simple thing for him to move. Not to mention the world jump. The last time he fell into the blue star world, it was also caused by the world displacement itself, which was a 1/100 billion thing. Lin Yi's thoughts rang in his mind. It will take me some time to completely clean up the weird nature that has been integrated into the cycle of this world. What you have to do is continue to block the weird illusion. Don't let more weird forces escape. After dealing with this, I will have the energy to deal with that weird illusion. The soul giant tree Ayala nodded, "Don't worry. During this period, I will never allow any weird existence to rush out of the weird illusion." After the words fell, the soul giant tree Ayala slowly disappeared in the spiritual origin of this world. The outside world, where Ayala's body is. If you look down from the sky, you will find that the giant tree is in the east of the whole world, and the ground is full of the roots of the giant tree, surrounding the entire eastern world. And in the center of this root system, there is a black area surrounded by the roots of the giant tree. A huge force permeates from the roots, forming a strange barrier. This barrier integrates the power of the whole world and contains the mystery of time and space. Anyone who does not master the power of time and space cannot pass through. The area between the boundary of this area and the black area has long been barren, with only a cracked black land. This barrier completely wraps this black weird illusion from the sky to the depths of the underground. This barrier is now injected with more power, making it even more indestructible. There were some wonderful and weird existences that could occasionally break through this barrier, but now it is completely impossible. Outside this barrier, there are a large number of strong men from the tree canopy world guarding. They form teams one after another, patrolling back and forth. Most of those who can guard here are strong men with energy fluctuations at the level of Earth immortals, and there are also a few strong men who can match the energy fluctuations of heavenly immortals. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 925. The creatures in the canopy world are mostly plants. They are naturally good at hoarding power and are extremely powerful. After accumulating a lot of power, they will gain life and form plant-type life. So in terms of pure energy fluctuations, the level of Tianxiandao is not difficult for them. There are countless systems in the void, and the gap between various systems is also very huge. Some people have reached an unimaginable level of energy cultivation, and can accumulate energy depths hundreds or thousands of times greater than the level of Tianxiandao. The cultivation system is a relatively widespread system in the entire void, and many people are practicing it. Because this is a recognized and most likely path to eternity, each level is very clear. Therefore, the level of Tianxiandao is usually used as a watershed for outside-level powerhouses. And Tianxiandao is also used as a benchmark to measure the energy fluctuations of countless powerhouses in the void. Although in real wars, the power of energy has a certain effect, it is not decisive. For example, the power that these powerhouses in the canopy world can control is basically limited to energy and matter. To touch the spatial level, only the soul giant tree Ayala can do it. Moreover, there are not many spatial mysteries that he can use, otherwise he would have been an outsider. If a Tianxiandao monk who has stepped into the tribulation of all things came here. In this world, except for the soul giant tree Ayala, no one can hurt this Tianxiandao monk at the level of tribulation of all things. Even if the energy fluctuations of the creatures in the canopy world can be 10 times that of the Tianxiandao monk, it is useless. This is a purely qualitative difference. At this time, the strong men in the canopy world patrolled the periphery of the barrier and became more vigilant. The order from the soul giant tree Ayala required them to do their best to eliminate any possible weirdness. The canopy world entered the highest alert state. At the same time, a trace of weird essence continued to be eliminated in the spiritual origin of the world. Lin Yi could clearly feel that the spiritual wave sphere was constantly appearing and growing. Time passed by minute, and several days passed in a blink of an eye. The spiritual energy in the origin has been circulated and cleansed again and again. In the end, no more weird essence appeared, and the world trembled slightly. As if he had gotten rid of Chen Ke, he was full of vitality. Lin Yi took a deep breath and woke up from the continuous cleansing. He observed his spiritual wave sphere, and the upper limit had been raised to 2/3 of the initial entry here. This means that his freedom has once again taken a step further. In the spiritual origin, a tide is surging. The cycle of the world is accelerating, and between inhalation and exhalation, it is like the breathing of humans, this is the breathing of the world. A light gate appeared behind Lin Yi, and the incarnation of the soul giant tree Ayala came here. You are so amazing. Just now, I felt the cheers of the world. I now have stronger power to suppress that strange illusion. Compare my current power with the suppression of the whole world and the accumulation speed of the strange power in that strange illusion. At least within 10,000 years, the canopy world will be very safe. Thank you very much for your help. Lin Yi glanced at Ayala. You have paid a price, and I will naturally do my best to complete my work. So don't worry. Next, my experiment is almost done. We are going to start the second step. Hearing Lin Yi's words, Ayala was shocked and his eyes showed surprise. Let's leave here and go outside first. Okay. The two stepped out of the light gate and returned to the top of the soul giant tree, standing on a platform made of branches. Lin Yi waved his hand, and the door of the Wanchaiwu appeared in front of him. The door was opened, and Brandy was already standing inside the door, holding a dimensional bag in his hand and handed it to Lin Yi. Inside is the result of his experiment, the product after large-scale manufacturing. The soul giant tree Ayala looked at the dimensional pocket that Lin Yi got, which contained the mysterious product that Lin Yi said could solve this incident. Lin Yi poured out the dimensional pocket, and all the things piled up on the ground. In front of Ayala were various weapons such as knives, guns, swords, crossbows, etc. These weapons all exuded an evil feeling without exception. But these evil weapons seemed to be obviously different from ordinary evil items, emitting a hazy glow. But this glow did not have any evil nature in it. The most peculiar thing was that the ends of these weapon handles seemed to be inserted with something. The hazy glow emitted from these weapons seemed to come from these inserted objects. Lin Yi said, "These weapons are specially made by me. They have only one function, which is to truly kill strange beings. The final fatal blow can destroy the core essence of the strange power. This weapon is very special. It mainly consists of two parts, energy and the main body of the weapon. But the most important thing is its energy, which is a kind of energy that only I can make. Without this energy source, this is just an ordinary weapon. Although it can kill strange beings, it cannot eliminate the essence of strange beings. You distribute these weapons to the powerful warriors in the canopy world. Let them use this weapon for the final fatal attack when fighting with strange beings. The reason why they are used in the last blow is to save energy to the maximum extent. Because this energy has great damage to strange beings. Every damage will cause consumption. In normal battles, at most dozens of collisions, this energy will be almost consumed. Storing energy is a special thing. At present, its production is limited, only about 10,000 pieces, and the production will gradually increase with the passage of time in the future. After each use, these things must be handed over to me for recharging. This back and forth will delay a lot of time. So my suggestion is to let the warriors defeat the strange beings with their own strength, and then use this weapon to form a fatal blow to the strange beings. Listening to Lin Yi's explanation, the soul giant tree Ayala showed excitement in his eyes. If all this is true, it is incredible. This means that for the first time in countless years, among all the worlds invaded by the weird, the void will have a real chance of victory. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 926. Once this news leaks out, I don't know how many people will covet it. Lin Yi looked at Ayala. Let's start now. Give them to the most powerful warriors, and then start to break into the area of the strange illusion and fight against the weird. See how effective these weapons are. The soul giant tree Ayala nodded seriously, with an unprecedented joy in his eyes. he saw the possibility of truly saving the canopy world. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. The next work is completely controlled by Ayala alone. There are a total of 10,000 weapons brought this time, but they are qualified to break into the strange illusion. There are only 100 in the entire canopy world, and each of them has a combat power comparable to the Tianxiandao level at the lowest. The highest can reach 10 times the energy fluctuation of Tianxiandao. Each person is equipped with 5 weapons, and the reason why they are equipped with so many. It is to give them more sufficient combat power in the strange fantasy and to kill the weird to the maximum extent. Outside the world barrier, 100 figures have gathered together, and under Ayala's order, all entered the world barrier. Inside the world barrier, it was black everywhere. The earth was dry and cracked, without any vitality, and only some weird tree trunks could be seen standing on this land. These trees have also become weird, and they also have the characteristics of devouring all flesh and blood life. Hundreds of strong men from the tree canopy world entered, and immediately attracted some weird attention. They came from a distant place, fearlessly rushing towards the crowd, and the numbers started from sparse and quickly dense. This time, all the warriors received only one order. To test the effect of the weapons in their hands, they did not need to break into deeper places. They formed a formation and stood beside the world barrier, and a hazy mist enveloped them. Soon the first batch of weirds arrived here, with at least dozens of them, and most of them had reached the energy fluctuation of the ghost fairy level. They plunged into the fog without even a pause. Then, they were greeted by weapons full of evil aura. These evil weapons were full of violent energy fluctuations, all from these warriors. With just one blow, all these weird beings at the ghost fairy level were cut into pieces. If it was in the past, after these warriors cut the weird beings into several pieces, they would need to use a lot of energy to annihilate these corpses and neutralize the weird power. Otherwise, these corpses would quickly reunite and become weird again. This is the immortal characteristic of the weird. Only by neutralizing with pure spiritual energy can they be completely killed. And this will cause a problem, that is, the spiritual energy will be eroded by the core essence of the weird. Now, after all, the soldier's power is infused into the weapons. The spiritual waves on these weapons will be integrated into their power, and eventually their power will have a trace of spiritual wave characteristics. When these corpses are destroyed, the strange essence will be swallowed by the spiritual wave, and these corpse fragments will remain in their original state and lose their activity. The strange power in them will continue to radiate into the air. These strange powers are derivatives of the strange essence and do not have the indestructible characteristics of the strange essence. These warriors immediately discovered the problem and used their own power to neutralize these radiated strange powers. At this time, no one saw the strange essence swallowed by the spiritual wave. It will appear out of thin air at the spiritual level along the connection in the dark, and then be drawn into Lin Yi's spiritual wave sphere. Lin Yi felt the integration of the first ray of strange essence, and the spiritual wave sphere grew accordingly. And this is just the beginning of everything. Time passed by minute, and a large number of battles continued to break out in the world barrier. One after another strange existence rushed into the formation and was then destroyed. After they were killed, the trace of strange essence in their bodies would be swallowed by the spiritual wave, enter the spiritual level, and become part of Lin Yi's power. This change was continuously happening, and it lasted for half an hour. At least thousands of strange beings died in the formation formed by this team. But at this time, they finally stopped the battle and quickly withdrew from the world barrier. They all stood outside, with a hint of joy in their eyes. This time the battle was much easier than before, and they could feel that the strangeness was completely eliminated. The strange essence that could not be dissolved before was also broken under the effect of this weapon. They looked at the weapon in their hands that had completely lost its light, and their eyes showed joy. If the endurance of this weapon was stronger, they could produce more powerful lethality. But now the power of this weapon has been completely exhausted, and they just killed the strangeness and returned to the previous state. This also forced them to withdraw from the world barrier, and there was no point in continuing. Lin Yi and the soul giant Tree Ayala quietly observed the results of this battle, and both of them were very satisfied. Lin Yi got a lot of strange essence, and he didn't have to do anything, and someone was raising the upper limit of the spiritual wave sphere for him. In the future, he will slowly sell this weapon throughout the void, and his path to freedom will become more and more stable, and no one can shake it. Ayala was happy that the strange invasion in the canopy world had been weakened. Although there were only a few thousand strange beings at the level of ghost immortals or earth immortals, they were also a considerable amount of strange power when combined. The result was very simple: the world's suppression of the strange illusion was further enhanced. Everything was changing in a good direction. As long as it continued, this strange illusion would definitely be eliminated. The canopy world would completely turn to a safe state. Even if life knew about the strangeness, it would continue to attract the attention of the strangeness. But as long as there was this weapon, the strangeness would not be able to take root in this world. It would be like an ordinary invader, and it would be fine as long as it was eliminated. Lin Yi looked at Ayala and said calmly, "I will have to charge these things every day in the future. This is not a long-term solution. I will find a way to make a large energy storage device. Then send it over to facilitate the charging of these weapons. But I still need to go back and study this large energy storage device. Recently, I will come here to charge once a day, you just need to maintain the status quo." Ayala nodded, "Don't worry, I know how to do it." Lin Yi nodded, and a light door appeared behind him. He pushed the door open and walked in. When he returned to the Wanchaiwu, a smile appeared in his eyes. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 927. My experiment can be said to have been completed perfectly, and the next thing to do is further optimization. It also needs to be continuously promoted. As more and more people work for him, he will become safer until real freedom comes. Now if we want to mass produce these weapons, there is only one problem, and that is the number of Dao marks. Now he is using heavenly crystals, and these crystals come from the ancestors of heavenly beings. At this time he had arrived in the underground maze. There are 3 golden coffins here, inside which lie the 3 ancestors of heavenly beings. They have completely fallen into a deep sleep and were forced to indulge. Lin Yi's human immortal clone was standing here, grabbing out strand after strand of aura from the ancestor of the celestial beings from the golden coffin. These breaths are ethereal, psychedelic, and full of evil. After breaking away from the golden coffin, they will twist and turn into heavenly beings. Then unique evil spirits and principles will be born in the bodies of these heavenly beings. With the birth of the spirit, this monster called the celestial being will be completely formed. As soon as it appears, it releases boundless malice. Kill you, kill you, kill you. Destruction, destruction, destruction. Ants, killing, destruction. Every moment, people on this day are releasing boundless malice, without any kindness, and full of a feeling of madness. Completely devoid of any sense and dominated by evil principles. At this time, the immortal clone is observing the principle of this change. He was observing the spiritual structure of this evil deity and how reason came into being. Under the observation of Zhenming Daija, this phenomenon has been clearly understood. The main reason lies in the aura emitted by heavenly beings. This breath will naturally absorb the emotions that permeate the void. The malicious and good intentions emanating from all living beings will be a kind of magnetic field. When combined with this breath, they will evolve into evil spirits and principles. These negative emotional magnetic fields are themselves derivatives of the soul, and will be transformed into spirit under the influence of the breath of heaven and man. The various evil information contained in the original negative emotions and born from life itself will be transformed into evil principles. In the end, the aura of the ancestor of heaven and humanity will disappear completely after transforming the spirit and principles. Then a wonderful spiritual existence between the spiritual and material levels will be born. These celestial beings have no souls, they are entirely products of spirit and principles. Therefore, they can possess any living creature, and then erode the soul and spirit of these creatures and obtain physical bodies. Eventually, they slowly grow and become more and more powerful, and they can continue to absorb negative emotions in the air. Until they condense the relics of heaven and humans, an evil product of acquired Deo marks, the negative emotions from the outside world will completely lose their effectiveness. At that time, heavenly beings had basically reached the level of human immortality. At this time, in the hands of the human immortal clone, a piece of immortal light enveloped the newborn celestial being, forcibly controlling an evil force and injecting it into the body of this heavenly being. After receiving the power of the human immortal clone, this man immediately underwent wonderful changes. Its elusive figure quickly became solid, and at the same time it produced an inexplicable attraction. His spirit seems to be blessed by this pure energy, and its ability to attract negative emotions from the outside world has increased. Like a whirlwind, countless negative emotions poured into the body of this heavenly being. In just a few minutes, the negative emotions in this man's body were transformed into evil principles by his spirit. This evil principle condensed rapidly in the spiritual world, and finally turned into a crystal relic of heaven and man. The relics of gods and humans are composed of evil principles and spirits, but they can exist in reality in a stable material form. But its essence is still an evil spiritual principle. The most important thing about the heavenly relic is that its spirit and evil principles are actually one. The spirit constitutes the information carrier of evil principles and is finally condensed. Seeing the heavenly being in front of me advance, he exuded a strong aura. The immortal light in the hand of the human immortal clone was suddenly squeezed, and the celestial being was instantly shattered, leaving only a celestial relic. At this point, Lin Yi has completely mastered the technology of making heavenly relics. The next thing to do is to expand the production scale of Tianren relics. And he already had an idea in his mind. The place where the immortal clone is located is the second floor of the underground maze. This is a vast flat space that he transformed. Along with his thoughts, countless materials appeared here out of thin air. The source of true life was activated, and these materials quickly began to form magical weapons under Lin Yi's control. The source of true life can control the transformation of all energy and matter, and is incredibly powerful. With the support of Lingbosphere, under the control of the true source of life, these substances are forced to change according to the structure of the magic weapon. He wants to set up a formation specifically designed to absorb evil and negative emotions. The purpose of this formation is to cultivate heavenly beings and condense a large number of heavenly beings' relics. This formation is the product of an immortal cultivation system, which belongs to the evil immortal system. The formation consists of a total of 999 formation flags, which is called the formation of weary world weary beings, demons, monsters, and enchanting souls. This formation is very special. It absorbs all the evil emotions in the world and evolves a spiritual world in it. Once you fall into it, you will be pulled into this evil spiritual world and experience all the evil in the world. In the end, the spirit is polluted and becomes a member of the formation, turning into an evil formation spirit. Originally, refining this formation requires a lot of materials and countless time, and even has to survive the catastrophe before it can be successfully refined. But in this void, there are not so many requirements. First of all, the catastrophe will not appear, and secondly, various material restrictions do not exist. It may be difficult for a world to collect these materials. But the world in the void is infinite, and the resources are almost infinite. As long as you are willing to pay, it is not a problem. The Wanchai Wu has been running for more than a month and has accumulated a lot of wealth. This little material is just a drizzle for Lin Yi. Under the power of the true destiny root and the human immortal clone, this mysterious formation was refined in a short time. One black formation flag after another floated on this layer. They trembled slightly and resonated with each other, forming a wonderful formation structure. A cloud of black smoke rose up along with the formation, covering the entire second floor. 3 golden coffins were locked in the center of the formation. Lin Yi stood beside the coffins and waved his hand, connecting the power of the formation and the golden coffins together. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 928. A trace of the breath of the ancestor of the heavenly beings was extracted and naturally merged with the black mist that permeated the surroundings. These black mists are the negative emotions of life, which are everywhere in the void. As the formation rises, they are naturally attracted and integrated into the formation. The figures of the heavenly beings appeared one after another. They were ethereal and illusory, and looked like shadows. After they appeared, they immediately devoured the black smoke around them. The environment here is really suitable for their growth. These environments with strong negative emotions are like heaven for them. At this time, as the negative emotions in the formation increased, 999 formation flags began to emit a hazy glow. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. This glow quickly enveloped the entire formation, and then something wonderful happened. These heavenly beings seemed to be attracted by some kind of power, floating towards these formation flags, and then silently merged into the formation flags, becoming the formation souls in the formation flags. As the formation flag possessed the formation soul, the attraction to the negative emotions in the outside void seemed to become greater. At this time, the Wanchai was seemed to have turned into a vacuum and a black hole, madly absorbing all negative emotions. An inexplicable wind blew throughout the crescent base. This wind did not exist in reality, but was an emotional wind. Everyone felt that the air seemed to have become fresher, and the world seemed to have become safer. Inexplicably, it seemed that something was being drawn out of the void. Only those who practiced soul and spiritual power could feel the sharp reduction of negative emotions in the air. This siphon effect spread to the outside of the base, covering an area of hundreds of kilometers. At this time, endless negative emotions gathered in the formation, and finally produced indescribable changes. The vast and infinite emotions evolved into a black world. This world was filled with countless negative emotions and manifested countless illusions. Wisps of the breath of the ancestors of the gods were extracted here. The negative emotions of nature and this world merged to produce one after another of the gods. However, these celestial beings have undergone some changes here. This world evolved from negative emotions, and produced illusions of various life forms, countless races, and countless evil events. And the protagonists of these events have all been integrated into the breath of celestial beings and become the structure of celestial beings. Then these celestial beings play different roles in this illusion, experiencing or enduring all the evil. This is a very strange change, which surprised Lin Yi, who presided over the formation. This change also produced huge benefits. First of all, these celestial beings are naturally lost in this illusion, intoxicated in evil, and experiencing one evil thing after another. Their evil principles are rapidly growing, their spirits are also growing, and their accumulation of negative emotions is more violent. In the world of illusion, time is meaningless, and the fluctuation of spirit may be 1 year, 2 years, or even 100 years or 1,000 years in an instant. A large number of celestial beings who have condensed the relics of celestial beings began to appear. They began to establish countries in this world of illusion, they fought and devoured each other, and ruled this world of illusion with pure evil. There are no rules, only chaos and killing. The result is that a large number of strong people are born among the celestial beings in a short period of time. Once a powerful celestial being appears, he will be immediately swallowed by the formation flag, increasing the power of the formation. It only takes a few hours for the endless negative emotions to be absorbed. In the 999 formations, all the celestial beings have reached the energy fluctuation of the ghost fairy level. Lin Yi was surprised to find that the celestial beings and this formation had a wonderful chemical reaction, and they grew to an incredible level in a short period of time. Each of the 999 formation flags has a celestial being formation soul. After it started to operate, the power immediately became astonishing. It directly evolved into an illusory world. This world is vivid and completely composed of spirits, and the source of these spirits is the celestial being formation soul of the ghost fairy level in the formation flag. In this spiritual world, countless celestial beings continue to appear, absorbing negative emotions from the void. In this illusory world, various human conditions are performed. Once they grow to the level of the heavenly man relics, they will be killed instantly by the formation soul. The heavenly man relics will also be devoured and become part of the power of the formation soul. Lin Yi watched quietly from the side, and he made a slight calculation in his mind. At the current speed, it will take at least a few years for these formation souls to grow to the level of the earthly immortal Deo. After all, the heavenly man at the level of the earthly immortal Deo corresponds to the martial artist who has condensed the embryonic form of the world. This is not an ordinary realm, nor can it be easily achieved. At least more than 300 Deo marks are required to form the embryonic form of the world. Moreover, each Deo mark must develop to a certain extent before it can serve as the foundation for the evolution of the embryonic form of the world. The heavenly man relics of the heavenly man are also essentially the evolution of an evil world in the relics. The heavenly man relics of the three imprisoned heavenly man ancestors are a complete evil small world. Moreover, they have souls and are a real life form. And their derivative heavenly man, because they do not have souls, can never step into their realm. The innate nature is locked, unless they can condense a strange encounter and then gather souls. But this depends entirely on luck, and it is not something that ordinary natural treasures can do. At least it is absolutely impossible on Blue Star. Lin Yi saw through all the mysteries of the ancestors of the heavenly beings. The evil worlds of these ancestors of the heavenly beings are completely integrated with the soul. Therefore, under the operation of the evil principles, their souls have a trace of creative characteristics. And this characteristic will make the evil breath emitted from their bodies naturally attract the corresponding negative emotions in the void. Transform negative emotions into the derivative of the soul spirit. Finally, something called the heavenly beings is produced, which is a product of chance. Because the heavenly beings are produced from the breath of these ancestors of the heavenly beings, so they will naturally be controlled by the ancestors of the heavenly beings. After a little calculation, Lin Yi issued an order to the formation. Stop absorbing the heavenly relics produced in the formation. Switch to direct harvesting, when the heavenly beings inside condense the heavenly relics. The next moment, the entire formation suddenly changed. A large number of celestial relics were quickly harvested and piled up outside the formation. Lin Yi calculated the time briefly and found that he could condense 1,000 celestial relics per hour. This number was already very amazing and could be used to refine a large number of weapons. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 929. The latest chapter of the Wanchai I Created is updated the fastest. Lin Yi is calculating an energy storage device in his mind, which must store at least 10 spiritual waves that can destroy the strange existence of the Tiangxian Dao level. To build this energy storage device, at least 10,000 Tianren relics of the human immortal level are needed for special refining. After having the basic data in mind, the next step is to wait slowly. 10 hours later, Lin Yi successfully obtained 10,000 Tianren relics. The energy storage device he envisioned also officially began to be refined. The first thing is to deal with these Tianren relics, and they were all broken in an instant. Transformed into tens of thousands of evil principles, and then under the control of Lin Yi's Blue Star clone, these evil principles were bound in his domain. At the same time, these evil principles began to combine with each other, forming a cycle between evil principles. A vague prototype of the world was quickly born, and then various materials were melded. These materials are all materials that can carry spiritual power. These materials can carry the world composed of evil spiritual principles after the Tianren relics are broken. At this time, these materials, under the control of the Blue Star clone, quickly turned into a honeycomb structure. If you look closely, you can find that this honeycomb structure is composed of countless sockets on the surface, and a circular structure inside. At this time, the prototype of the evil truth world has been integrated into the core spherical structure. There is a chaos inside, only this pure evil truth is flowing. The outside of the sphere is countless sockets, which can charge thousands of energy storage devices at the same time. Its diameter reaches 2 meters, floating quietly in the air. Lin Yi slowly stretched out his hand, touched this wonderful device, and injected a large amount of spiritual waves into it. The spiritual waves were all integrated into the evil truth world, floating in it like liquid. A weapon energy storage device without any spiritual waves appeared in his hand. He inserted this weapon energy storage device into a socket of the energy storage device. Send red envelopes. Reading benefits are here. You have up to 888 cash red envelopes to be drawn. Follow the WeChat public account Book Friends Basecamp to draw red envelopes. The next moment, a spiritual wave naturally flowed out and merged into the Tianren relic in the weapon energy storage device. This weapon energy storage device itself is made of spiritual materials. Once inserted into a weapon, it will form a cycle with the spiritual patterns on the weapon. At this time, the spiritual power in the Tianren relic will follow the cycle of the spiritual wave in the truth. Enter the weapon, thus forming a unique spiritual wave brilliance, and finally causing fatal damage to the weird existence. At this time, the core of this weapon system has been manufactured, and it is about to enter the mass production stage. Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction, and a large amount of spiritual waves was injected into the energy storage device. In a short time, this energy storage device absorbed 2/3 of Lin Yi's spiritual waves. At the same time, Lin Yi's incarnation began to kill weird existences, quickly devouring the essence of weird existences, and recovering the consumption of spiritual waves. As he continued to inject spiritual waves into it, in a blink of an eye, he injected at least 5 times the upper limit of his spiritual wave sphere. The evil truth world in the energy storage device was filled. At this point, he also stopped injecting spiritual waves. With a wave of his hand, he put the spiritual wave energy storage device into a dimensional pocket. Then, the Blue Star clone returned to the hall, opened the door of the Wanchaiwu, and connected to the canopy world. When he came here again, he appeared directly on the platform at the top of the soul giant tree Ayala. Lin Yi's arrival immediately alarmed Ayala, and a phantom appeared in front of him. This is the energy storage device I made. All weapons that have run out of energy can use it to recharge in the future. As he said this, he had taken out the dimensional pocket and poured out the energy storage device he had made. Ayala looked at the honeycomb-shaped energy storage device in front of him, and his heart was slightly excited. With this thing, the war against the weird will be smoother. Now, you start preparing for the real war and completely reclaim this world. At the same time, during the war, you have to collect various data and then feed back to me. I need to summarize a large amount of data to improve these weapons and devices. I hope to create a weapon system that can kill weirdness to the maximum extent and most efficiently. Ayala nodded solemnly, "Don't worry, I will definitely collect all the information. I won't let you down." Lin Yi nodded after hearing this, "That's fine, you join." After that, Lin Yi turned around and left here, and then Ayala presided over the entire war himself. He was looking forward to what it would be like if the weirdness of this world could be completely eliminated. That means that his weapon system can be applied to all the worlds in the void. The benefits obtained at that time will be beyond imagination. But we have to increase the output first. The production efficiency needs to be improved. Back to the Wanchaiwu, Lin Yi began to organize the underground maze. The original layer for producing the celestial relics has an area of about 10 square kilometers. After setting up the world-weary beings, demons, ghosts, and monsters bewitching array, only 2/3 of the area is left. In other words, 3 identical arrays can be set up on this floor. It just so happens that one celestial ancestor can be left in each formation as the source of celestial production. Lin Yi immediately began to arrange it. A few hours later, 3 large formations appeared on this floor. The levels of the 3 formations were all the same, and they could produce 10,000 celestial relics per hour, which was the limit. Lin Yi planned to use one of them to produce large energy storage devices. The other 2 were all used to make spiritual wave weapons. This is the name given by Lin Yi to the set of weapons. In the future, this kind of weapon will definitely become the greatest weapon in the void. Their names will resound throughout the countless world groups in the void. In these few hours of busyness, Lin Yi has felt a trace of strange essence, which was sucked into the soul sphere from the spiritual level, raising the upper limit of his spiritual wave sphere. In this short period of time, his spiritual wave online increased by 1 per 1,000. Obviously, the war in the tree canopy world is in full swing. Lin Yi's face was filled with smiles. His human immortal clone will continue to produce spiritual wave weapon systems here. In the mysterious palace at the core of the Void City, the chairman of the Void Fate Committee was meeting 2 people. They were the Soul Master and the Master of the Fairy Palace. They looked at the chairman quietly with a solemn aura. The chairman looked at the 2 and asked slowly, "What did you see in the ruins of the ancient city this time?" The Soul Master raised his hand and waved it slightly, and a phantom appeared in front of them. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 930. The scene in the picture was the scene they saw when they finally left the void where the ancient gods' ruins were located. A huge figure appeared in the darkness, an unimaginable existence. They couldn't see his specific face, but the supreme majesty, even if it was a phantom, could be clearly felt. The president, who was sitting on the high platform, had his eyes slightly condensed. It is indeed an ancient god. When I was using that miracle coin, I saw a majestic figure in it. This figure is very powerful and incredible. Full of a sense of omnipotence. It's almost exactly the same as the figure in front of me. This is definitely an ancient god. But by the time I got there, he had disappeared. What do you think? The Lord of the Immortal Palace said in a slightly lower voice, "This matter definitely has their influence. This infected ancient god should be their target. They must want something from this ancient god. Like the secret of stepping into eternity. Although this ancient god has been eroded by weirdness, you should have discovered it. He didn't die, he just fell into a deep sleep. And the weirdness has not completely eroded his body. This ancient god has definitely entered the eternal level of existence. Although it will also be corroded by strange power, it seems that it will not die. The surging vitality in his body is definitely something I can possess. This infected ancient god has been sleeping for who knows how many years. After so many years, the weirdness can't swallow it up. It is certain that the ancient gods must have a resistance to strange powers that is beyond our understanding. The ancient gods, the beings who created the void, we don't know what kind of secrets they have." The president said with some emotion, "But one thing is certain. The 5 major rules in the void were created by them, which means they must also master the 5 major rules. According to the immortal cultivation system, as long as you can be immune to the damage of the 5 major rules, You can enter the eternal level. Then the ancient gods who can create the 5 major rules must also be at the eternal level. There's no doubt about that. If we can get a complete sample of the eternal level powerhouse, then stepping into eternity will no longer be an illusory dream. There will be a realistic basis, as long as we continue to study. You will definitely be able to step into eternity. If my guess is not wrong, their goal is also this. In order to obtain the eternal secrets of the ancient gods. We are a step too late now, the ancient gods have been taken away by them. Once they study the eternal secrets of the ancient gods, maybe they will truly come to light. Start conquering the entire void and start a huge war. We need to get the message out to all known world groups to inform them of future and possible dangers. At the same time, I also have to think of ways to shorten the time it takes me to enter eternity. There is still some time before I complete eternity, the final moment of transformation. I hope you can help me stabilize the entire committee. After completing eternity, I will personally take action to completely close the strange entrance to the front line. I have a premonition that when I transform into eternity, there will be an extremely huge disaster. This is the final test from the 5 rules of the void. If you can pass it, you can enter eternity. If it cannot pass, it will be destroyed and will no longer exist. We don't have much time, as you all must have felt. The weirdness in the void is slowly becoming clearer and clearer. Just like those invaded worlds, the strange invasion will reach the first stage in the entire void. Once that time comes, everything will be irreversible, and the countdown to destruction will begin. Listening to the President's words, the Lord of the Immortal Palace and the Master of Souls all look silent. Naturally, they know quite a lot of secrets at this level. There are countless world groups, and strange existences appear in almost every world group. There are even some world groups that have been completely invaded by weirdness. In the process of constant war between weird and the infinite beings of the world group, a large number of weirds die, and their weird essences will merge into the void. It's almost the same routine as when integrating into one world after another. Maybe ordinary people don't know it, but those of them who have survived for countless years have already noticed the abnormality. Over a long period of time, they clearly felt the changes in the spiritual energy in the void. Although the strange essence is very small, so small that it is almost impossible to detect, they are indeed growing slowly. At this point, they have discovered that the strange aura seems to be entering the first stage. They have seen this stage countless times in the world group. Once a world enters this stage, it means that weirdness may appear in any place at any time, even if there is no life form in that place. Frontline containment will lose its effectiveness. The biggest role of the front line is to prevent the spread of weirdness. If the weird wants to enter the world within the world group, it must know the existence of the weird, or be infected by the weird, and then it is possible to descend to the corresponding world by knowing its existence. Of course, there are some special cases where the weird accidentally infiltrates a certain world. But the weird cannot easily infiltrate the pure void, and coordinates are required. And the coordinates are the world, they are like a beacon in the darkness, guiding the direction of the weird. And now, once the weird enters the first stage of erosion with the void as a unit, the consequences will be catastrophic. Imagine that there are countless places in the void, and a large number of weird beings appear. Various weird phenomena follow one after another, and the originally chaotic and disordered void may become like hell. Even if you have the strength of the heavenly immortal Deo, once you walk in the void, you may encounter weird phenomena at any time. Then you will fall in the weird attack, and soon the world groups will be isolated and become isolated islands in the void. A large number of weirds appear in the void, gradually approaching the world group, and finally completely submerge the world group. The void will also be completely destroyed, or the void will be ruled by weirdness. All life systems will be permanently destroyed under the weird system. Thinking of this, everyone's heart is very heavy. In fact, everyone knows that this is almost irreversible, and they can only delay.